All right, we are on chapter 8. If you can believe it, we are more than halfway through this course. Hopefully you've been learning a lot. Hopefully you've been applying it. Hopefully you've, gained a friend or two through discussion. And hopefully this lecture is a quick one, actually. Hopefully this will be beneficial to helping you revise your work. All right, so let's get going with revisions. Okay, so how many of you guys have done something perfect your first time? Well, those of you that are married, you better have answered yes once. Otherwise, that's actually marrying the right person, not necessarily your marriage in general. I'm sure you've made some mistakes. But revision is necessary for writing well. And what happens is a lot of people skip that step pretty often. So let's watch a quick video to get your minds going on revisions.
Okay, who's next? Yes, ma'am.
This slogan is gonna go on every sign in town. I think it should be something real that we can all be proud of. I've lived in Pawnee my whole life, and it can be a strange place, but overall, it's a warm and wonderful town. My idea for a slogan is, when you're here, then you're home.
Well, that's lovely.
I actually had it printed up so we could see what it would look like.
Oh, that's spelled wrong. That should be then. T-H-E-N.
Stay strong, let them work it out, and trust Larry.
Trust Larry. Are you even listening to yourself?
I like that slogan a lot. But you made a little mistake there.
She's gonna work it out.
You're right.
Back off.
Your was spelled wrong. It should be Y-O-U-R.
Oops, I didn't catch it. Thank you.
No. She made it possessive. She's getting further away.
Okay, let's vote. All those in favor? Approved.
All right, hopefully you got a laugh out of that, and not all information and revisions that you are given by others is helpful, nor is it correct. And so one of the best things to do is the older you get, the more classes you're in, is find people who do know what they're talking about, who can give you an outside perspective. And even if they don't, an outside perspective in general, it's just helpful to get a fresh point of view at your work. And hopefully that'll help you get moving on your second your revision. Okay, so go ahead and read this, pause it, and I think what I want you to do is to cut, copy, and paste it into Microsoft Word and guess how many errors you think Microsoft Word will catch. Okay, so Microsoft Word has gotten better. The first time we did this about 4 years ago, it caught one error, I think one, and now it catches, I think, 3. Google Docs catches, I think, 4. But if you don't read this out loud, or if you don't revise this in a way and come back to it later, then you'll miss things like Marshall vowels. Now, let's just, if you are a ninja, maybe that is correct. But for most of us, that's probably marital vows. Okay. All right, so here's some tips on how to revise well. Okay. And this is what I do mostly when I'm having to start an article, is I just start writing, right? I start writing, getting everything put together. I have an outline that I start with and then start writing. And then rewrite it again and rewrite it again. I remember President Nelson, at the time he was Elder Nelson, came to our stake and met with us leaders. And it had to be, it must have been June. And we asked him, or he said that he was writing a special talk for a conference. We said, great, I thought they were all pretty special, but, what do I know? Anyway, so he said, I had to rewrite it, and then I rewrote it again. He says, Now I'm on my 8th draft, and this was in June, right? He was on his 8th draft. So you can imagine how much time he spends rewriting and writing and rewriting and writing. First of all, getting it all out there, and then rewriting, and then after you've rewritten it a bunch of times, so if you come to the phase where it's actually a draft, then no matter how long, and I know this is painful, no matter how long, read it out loud. So if we were to go back to this paragraph here, if you read it out loud, not just like, oh, read it in your head, but if you actually said, I'm graduating in 2024 and it's exciting, right? How many errors would you catch? Probably all of them, right? I hope so. But when you're done, read it around. And this is especially helpful for emails. I can't tell you how many times I've written an email and then gone back and read it aloud and realized the hilarious mistakes I've made, right? Before I send most emails, unless it's like, yes, sir, or you got it, or something like that, but any type of substantial email, then I read it aloud before I send it. Every single time, right? And sometimes 3 or 4 times. If I change something, then I read it aloud again until I don't change anything, depending on how important the email is. But most of the time, what's an important email, I read it out loud. Then your last technique is to come back later. So this is a funny guy from The Simpsons, if you ever seen it. But no matter what the customer did to him, he would always say, "Thank you and come again," right? And so once you finish, let's just say a draft or whatever, you need to figure out a way to give yourself a mental break. A mental break doesn't mean like watching a stupid cat video or watching, I don't know what you guys watch, Princess, whatever her name, royal, anything royal. If it's with the royal family, you're probably wasting your time. So what I mean by this is actually, go take a hike, go play the piano for a couple hours, or whatever you do to clear your mind, and then come again. Sometimes for me, it's usually a day if it's super important, or even more, to get my head clear and then come back again. Because you'll notice that no matter how many times you rewrite something, if you don't give yourself a pause, a mental break, and then come back, then you'll realize that, then you'll actually recognize things that you may have missed the first time. So let me give you an example. I just applied to a bunch of PhD programs, and they require you to write 2 things. Well, it depends on the program, but they require you to write a personal statement or purpose statement, or depending on the school, the semantics are a little bit different. But so I wrote my first one for the first school in the question, and then I wrote it again, and I sent it off to a bunch of people. Then I wrote it again, and then when I finally came to when I was going to turn it in, I wrote it all down, and then left it. I thought about it here and there, but then I left it for at least a day or 2. And then I came back again, and I changed actually more than I thought I needed to change. And then after I made some major changes, I sent it out again, got the feedback, and went through that same process. But I would create mental gaps, mental rests, if you would. Just think about it like, those of you who are trying to get all swole and going to the gym, right? This is your rest period where you're giving your muscles a rest so that they can recover even stronger. And so, again, 3 tips that I would give would be: first, make sure to write it all down. You're going to rewrite it so many times, so make sure to just get an outline, write it all down. Then, after you have written it all down, read it out loud, right? Your final draft, read it out loud. After you've done that, then leave it, come back later. And I would always suggest that you, depending on the type of document, that you give yourself, I don't know, anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, 24 hours to come back later and make sure that you, your final draft is what you want. And so hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully that gives you some kind of overall guidance on how these things work. And if you have any questions, concerns, or things you'd like me or Heather or anyone else with the grammar background or professional background or whoever you pick to be your kind of your mentoring circle or people in your group, then go ahead and reach out. Okay, so we will see you guys later.